Millionaire abandons pregnant mare, but what happens next will leave you breathless. The scorching sun blazed fiercely over the golden sands that stretched as far as the eye could see. The desert was vast, merciless, and seemed to swallow any trace of life that dared challenge it. But amidst this arid landscape there was a pause for the eyes: the Monte Alvarado Ranch, a true oasis of luxury and splendor. Impeccably maintained green fields blended with gleaming stables that resembled mansions for horses. It was a place that exuded wealth and power. The man behind this empire was Carter Reynolds, a figure whose fame extended far beyond the region's borders. Known as the King of Horses, he was a breeder capable of transforming any ordinary animal into an internationally renowned champion. However, for those who knew him closely, Carter was much more than a successful entrepreneur. He was cold, calculating, and his relentless pursuit of perfection left no room for errors or weaknesses. That morning, as he did every day, Carter walked through the stables. His firm stride and critical gaze made the staff tense, each one striving not to make any misstep under their boss's watchful eye. Dressed impeccably in a white linen suit, he seemed out of place in the dusty surroundings, yet his presence was impossible to ignore. When he reached the main stable, his eyes fell on Stella. She was a mare of rare beauty, with a shimmering coat and elegant bearing. But to Carter, none of that mattered. Stella carried a problem he would not tolerate: a complicated pregnancy. He observed her for a moment, his eyes assessing her as if she were an object. "What a waste," he muttered coldly. "If she can't give me a champion, she's not worth my investment." One of the caretakers, mustering courage and caution, tried to argue. "Sir, Stella is about to give birth. Maybe with the right care, the foal could be healthy and—" "I don't care," Carter interrupted, his tone so icy it made the man step back. "I've already spent too much on her. I won't keep wasting time and money." The order came like a final blow. "Take this mare to the desert. I don't want to see her here anymore." Silence filled the stable. The staff exchanged worried glances, but no one dared challenge the boss. The foreman, Jake, a strong, weathered man, knew he had no choice. With a lump in his throat, he approached Stella and began preparing the trailer to take her to her final destination. Hours later, under the desert's relentless sun, Jake stopped the truck. He helped Stella disembark, guiding her to a precarious shade formed by a few rocks. His eyes, usually hard, were filled with sorrow as he stroked the mare's neck. "I'm sorry, girl," he said, his voice choked. "I wish I could do more for you." Stella, confused and exhausted, looked around the vast desert as Jake walked away. He climbed back into the truck, cast one last glance at the mare, and drove off. Deep down, he knew he was leaving behind far more than an animal. He was abandoning a life that still had so much to offer. The scorching sun seemed to turn the ground into embers, but Emma had no choice. She needed to gather firewood to warm the house and prepare dinner for her family. Since losing her father, the 17-year-old had taken on the responsibility of caring for her sick mother and two younger siblings. Life wasn't easy, but Emma had an inner strength that seemed greater than her hardships. With a burlap sack slung over her shoulder, she walked around the outskirts of her simple farm, a small patch of land bordered by old fences and a stable made of weathered wood. Then, something unusual caught her attention. A distant sound, almost muffled, reached her ears. It was faint, but persistent. A neigh. Emma stopped immediately, frowning as she tried to locate the source of the sound. "A horse?" she murmured to herself, intrigued. Leaving the sack of firewood on the ground, she followed the sound, her bare feet sinking into the hot sand. The path was difficult. She had to cross dry bushes and climb a steep hill, but she kept going, driven by curiosity and something she couldn't quite explain. When she finally reached the top, Emma was left breathless. Before her, in the middle of the arid desert, stood Stella. The mare looked like a shadow of her former self. Her thin flanks rose and fell with difficulty, and her large, dark eyes conveyed exhaustion and, at the same time, a silent plea for help. Emma felt a pang in her chest. "What have they done to you?" she whispered as she ran down the hill. She knelt beside the mare, ignoring the heat burning her knees in the sand. Stella barely lifted her head, but her eyes met Emma's, and in that instant, an inexplicable connection was formed. It was as if the young girl and the mare knew they needed each other. "You're pregnant," Emma realized, noticing the animal's rounded belly. "I can't leave you here." Determined, she slipped her arm through the halter still around Stella's neck and began to pull her. "Come on, girl. I know you're tired, but you need to trust me." Stella seemed to understand. Even with her strength nearly depleted, she took a step, then another, following Emma with great effort. The journey back to the farm was long and exhausting. The sun offered no respite, and every few meters Emma stopped to let Stella rest and drink some water from her canteen. "You'll be okay, I promise," she repeated, both to the mare and to herself. When they finally reached the farm, Emma called for her siblings. Ethan and Lily came running, their eyes wide at the sight of Stella's condition. "Where did you find her?" Ethan asked, his voice full of concern. "In the desert," Emma replied, still catching her breath. "She's pregnant and almost died. We have to help her." Without hesitation, the three of them got to work. They improvised a space in the stable for Stella, bringing clean water and what little hay they had. Emma spent hours tending to the mare, cleaning her wounds and massaging her tense body. Despite their limited resources, she did the best she could, driven by a protective instinct that seemed to have sprung from her heart. Meanwhile, Stella seemed to sense she was safe. Slowly, her breathing steadied, and her eyes, once full of pain, began to show a timid glimmer of hope. Emma stroked the mare's muzzle, whispering softly, "You're home now. And here, we take care of those in need." The nights at Emma's small ranch were always quiet, broken only by the sound of the wind or the distant chirping of crickets. But that night, something different happened. A weak, persistent neigh woke Emma, making her sit up in bed with a start. She knew what was happening: Stella. Without a second thought, Emma grabbed a lantern and ran to the stable, her heart racing. Stella was lying down, breathing heavily, but there was something in her eyes, an instinctive determination. The moment everyone had been waiting for had arrived, the birth of the foal. "Easy, girl, I'm here," Emma whispered, kneeling beside the mare. She called Ethan and Lily, who came running to help. With trembling yet steady hands, Emma did everything she could to assist Stella through the birth. It was a delicate task, and time seemed to pass slowly, as if the universe itself were holding its breath. Finally, after hours of effort, a small foal was born. He was thin with long, awkward legs, but unlike what many feared, he seemed healthy. Emma carefully held the foal, overwhelmed by a mix of relief and joy. "You did it, Stella," she said, tears in her eyes. She cleaned the newborn with a clean cloth and placed him beside his mother, who immediately began to lick him lovingly. It was as if Stella knew this foal was special. "Welcome to the world, Blaze," Emma whispered as the first rays of dawn illuminated the stable. The name couldn't have been more fitting, for he was like a ray of light amidst the family's hardships. The days that followed were filled with dedication. Emma and her siblings cared for Stella and Blaze with all the love and attention they could muster. From the start, the foal showed he was something special. He was curious, energetic, and even at such a young age, seemed to understand the simple commands Emma taught him. His intelligence and strength were remarkable, as though he carried a special brilliance no one could ignore. Blaze brought something the family hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Despite their hardships and limited resources, they began to believe that the colt might be the key to changing their lives. Emma spent hours training Blaze, teaching him to obey commands, and marveling at how quickly he seemed to learn. He wasn't just a horse, he was a partner, an extension of the strength and resilience that lived within Emma. Meanwhile, rumors began to spread. Quiet murmurs at markets and conversations among local farmers reached the ears of breeders in the region. "I heard there's a girl at a humble ranch with a colt that's a prodigy," they said. Such words didn't take long to reach Carter Reynolds. Initially, Carter paid no mind. "Extraordinary horses don't come from places like that," he scoffed, dismissing the rumors. Yet, deep down, curiosity gnawed at him. He was competitive, and the thought of an exceptional colt existing beyond his control unsettled him. Unaware that she was attracting the attention of someone so powerful, Emma continued working with Blaze every day. The colt grew rapidly, his strength and agility increasing week by week. He wasn't just a horse. He was a symbol of everything Emma believed in: courage, determination, and the ability to thrive even in the harshest of circumstances. As Carter began to plan how to uncover more about this mysterious colt, Emma continued to care for Blaze with love, unaware that her humble little farm was about to become the stage for something far greater. Days at Emma's small farm remained peaceful, but there was a sense in the air that change was coming. Blaze, the colt who had revived the family's hope, grew strong and full of life. His presence filled the ranch with energy and joy, but at the same time, the rumors about him continued to spread. And as expected, they eventually reached Carter Reynolds. Carter, with his usual arrogance, couldn't ignore the talk of an extraordinary colt at a modest farm. To him, it made no sense for an animal of such value to be beyond his control. Determined to reblaze this, he sent 2 of his men to the farm to make an offer that, in his mind, would be impossible to refuse. That morning, Emma was in the field with Blaze, watching the colt run freely, when she noticed a truck pulling up near the entrance of the farm. 2 well-dressed men, wearing hats that starkly contrasted with the simplicity of the place, stepped out and walked toward her. Emma felt her heart race but maintained her composure. "Are you Emma?" asked the older man, adjusting his hat. "I am. How can I help you?" she replied cautiously. "My name is Ryan Mitchell. I work for Carter Reynolds. He's heard about your colt and is interested in buying him," the man said in a tone that mixed politeness with superiority. He continued, "We're willing to offer 50,000 reais. What do you say?" Emma swallowed hard. For her family, that money could Blaze many problems. But as she looked at Blaze, joyfully trotting in the field, she knew she couldn't betray the animal that trusted her. "Blaze is not for sale," she said firmly. The men exchanged surprised glances. Ryan tried to press further. "Look, young lady, this is a rare opportunity. That money could change your life and your family's." Emma shook her head. "He's already changed my life, but in a way you could never understand. Blaze is part of our family, not an object to be bought and blazed. Please leave." The men hesitated, but seeing the determination in Emma's eyes, they backed off. Before leaving, Ryan made one last attempt. "Think carefully, girl. Offers like this don't come twice." But Emma stood her ground. "It doesn't matter how many times it comes. My answer will remain the same." As the truck disappeared down the dusty road, Ethan, who had been watching from afar, approached. "Are you sure? That money could blaze so many problems." Emma took a deep breath and looked at her brother. "Ethan, Blaze isn't just a horse. He trusted me when no one else did. I won't abandon him now." Days later, Carter decided to take matters into his own hands. He arrived at the farm driving a luxury car, his imposing presence contrasting with the simplicity of the place. Stepping out of the vehicle, Carter walked with firm strides toward Emma's house. She greeted him on the porch, with Stella and Blaze visible in the distance. "So, you're the young woman who rescued my mare," Carter said, his voice heavy with authority. Emma narrowed her eyes, surprised by the visit. "Your mare! You abandoned her in the desert like trash. Don't come here pretending to care." Carter wasn't fazed by the accusation. "I'm not here to discuss the past. I'm here for that colt. He has the potential to be a champion, but you don't have the resources to train him properly. I'm willing to offer more than anyone else." "He's not for sale," Emma repeated, crossing her arms. Her tone was firm, and her eyes reflected the same determination she had shown Carter's men. Carter stepped closer, trying to impose his presence. "Girl, you're being stubborn. Do you know what you could do with the money I'm offering? You could give your family a better life. Think about it." Emma didn't back down. On the contrary, she stepped forward, looking him directly in the eyes. "Maybe I don't have the resources you do, but I have something money can't buy. Heart. Blaze doesn't need luxury to be a champion. He needs someone who believes in him, and that's something you'll never understand." For a moment, Carter was silent, surprised by the young woman's courage. He adjusted his hat as if trying to hide his discomfort. "Very well, Amasa," he said, his tone more subdued. "If you change your mind, you know where to find me." As he walked back to his car, Emma watched Blaze in the distance, running freely alongside Stella. She knew Carter wouldn't give up easily, but she also knew that nothing in the world would make her betray the colt's trust. With Blaze by her side, Emma felt that no matter how difficult the challenges, they could face anything together. Months passed, and Blaze grew strong, transforming into a young stallion who seemed born to shine. His steps in the field were steady, his jumps graceful, and his gaze conveyed an intelligence that captivated everyone who saw him. Under Emma's care and patient training, Blaze began to reveal exceptional talent for competitions. He wasn't just an agile horse. He seemed to understand the essence of every challenge, as if synchronized with a will to win. Blaze's first competition was in a nearby town, a small regional event. Emma registered with the little money she had, unsure of what to expect. When she arrived, her humble ranch stood in stark contrast to the expensive horses and equipment of the other competitors. Despite this, she was determined. "It doesn't matter what they think," she murmured to Blaze, stroking his muzzle before the event. We're here to do our best. And that's exactly what they did. Blaze didn't just complete the course, he did so with a grace and speed that left everyone impressed. When his name was announced as the winner, Emma could hardly believe it. Holding the simple trophy in her hands, tears filled her eyes as she looked at Blaze with gratitude. "You're amazing," she whispered. That victory was just the beginning. Over time, Emma and Blaze began competing in other regional events, facing increasingly tougher opponents. Each win strengthened their bond and boosted Blaze's reputation. Soon, the colt's name and that of his young trainer were being discussed in wider circles. "Have you heard about that horse from the modest farm? He's unbeatable," people said. But with fame came challenges. One day, Emma received an unexpected invitation, an international championship in another country. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, something she had never imagined. But as she read the details, her excitement was replaced by worry. The costs of participating were exorbitant, and her family could barely keep the farm afloat. Despite her desire to take Blaze to that grand stage, Emma knew she couldn't afford it. "Maybe it's a sign that it's not our time yet," she said to Ethan and Lily over dinner. But her siblings disagreed. "You and Blaze have come so far. We can't give up now," Ethan insisted. Motivated by their words, Emma began seeking alternatives. The small community where they lived came together, organizing raffles, bazaars, and fundraisers to help. Even so, the money raised wasn't enough. Then, just days before the trip, something unexpected happened. An envelope arrived at the farm. Inside was a check for the exact amount needed to cover the expenses. There was no sender's name, just a short note. "So you can keep shining." Emma was overwhelmed with emotion, but also intrigued. Who could have done this? Determined to seize the opportunity, she and Blaze set off for the championship. The event was held in a European city, in a massive stadium filled with horses and riders from all over the world. Everything there seemed grand, and Emma felt her nerves building. But when she looked at Blaze, standing tall with attentive eyes, she remembered why they were there. "You are more than enough," she told him before entering the arena. The competitions were intense, each requiring a level of precision and courage that Emma had never faced before. But as always, she and Blaze worked together, overcoming every obstacle. When their names were announced as the grand champions, the stadium erupted in applause. Tears streamed down Emma's face as she hugged Blaze. They had achieved the impossible. After the ceremony, while she was still backstage, a familiar figure appeared. Carter Reynolds. He seemed different, less arrogant, almost human. "So, you did it," he said, crossing his arms. Emma was surprised to see him there. "You?" she asked, unable to hide her astonishment. "It was me who sent the check," Carter confessed. "I wanted to see how far you and that horse could go." Emma was silent for a moment, processing his words. Finally, she asked, "Why?" Carter sighed. "Maybe because I was wrong about a lot of things. Maybe because I saw something in you two that made me believe there's still good in this world. I don't know how to explain it." Emma looked at him seriously. "What I've learned from Blaze is that all we need is someone to believe in us, even in the worst moments. If you wanted to help, then thank you. But know this, our success wasn't because of the money. It was because of the love and trust we built along the way." Carter nodded, as if absorbing her words. He turned to leave, but before walking away, he said, "I was wrong about you. Keep shining." And so, with hearts full of gratitude and determination, Emma and Blaze returned home as champions, knowing this was only the beginning of something even greater. The stadium roared with applause as Emma and Blaze took their victory lap. The international competition, which had brought together the best horses and riders in the world, now had its new champions. Blaze, with his majestic stance and natural elegance, seemed to shine under the bright lights. Beside him, Emma couldn't hold back her tears of joy. She stroked his neck, whispering, "We did it, boy. Against all odds, we did it." The victory wasn't just a medal or a trophy. It was proof that effort, love, and dedication can transform any dream into reality. For Emma, it was more than a personal achievement. It was a symbol that even those who had been discarded and underestimated could achieve greatness. After the ceremony, as Emma packed her gear backstage, a familiar figure approached. It was Carter Reynolds. He didn't carry his usual air of arrogance. There was something different about his demeanor, something more humble, perhaps even regretful. Emma turned to him, surprised. "You did it," he began with a faint smile. You turned a horse I considered worthless into a world champion." "Blaze was never worthless," Emma replied firmly. "He just needed someone to believe in him." Carter paused, as if reflecting on her words. "You're right, I was wrong. About Blaze, about you, about a lot of things." He took a deep breath before continuing. "I'm here because I have a proposal. I want to start a project to rescue horses like Blaze. Discarded, neglected, underestimated. With my experience and your instincts, I think we could do something great." Emma stared at him, clearly skeptical. Carter, the man who had once abandoned Stella in the desert, now wanted to work alongside her. The idea seemed absurd, yet there was something in his expression that suggested he might be sincere. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, crossing her arms. Carter lowered his head for a moment before responding. "Because I'm trying to change, and because you've proven that you can see value where I couldn't. I want to learn from that. I want to do something different, something that truly matters." Emma remained silent, considering his words. For years, Carter had represented everything she despised: selfishness, greed, and a lack of compassion. But now, standing before her, was a man who seemed genuinely willing to right his wrongs. She knew that if she accepted, she could help many horses who, like Blaze, needed a second chance. "If I accept," she said finally, "you'll have to follow one rule. Respect for the horses comes first. Always. They're not machines or tools for making money. They are lives that deserve care and dignity." Carter nodded with a faint smile. Agreed. And so, something improbable happened. Emma and Carter joined forces. Their project started small but quickly gained momentum. They rescued neglected horses, offering them treatment, training, and most importantly, a new chance at life. Some became champions in competitions, while others simply found homes where they were loved and respected. The partnership brought not only a new lease on life for the horses, but also a transformation for Carter. He learned to see animals differently, weigh among them for more than just their profit potential. And for Emma, it was an opportunity to expand the impact of her love and dedication. As they worked side by side, Emma often looked at Blaze, now an icon of all they had accomplished. He trotted freely through the fields, surrounded by other rescued horses. She knew that this journey was a testament to the fact that with love, patience, and determination, even the most unlikely stories could have happy endings. Years passed, and what began as a humble dream on Emma's small farm grew into something far greater than she had ever imagined. The Horse Rescue Project, initiated by her and Carter, expanded across borders, touching lives worldwide. They started by helping local horses, but soon the stories of transformation gained recognition, drawing attention from other breeders, activists, and even international organizations. Every rescued horse had its own story of pain and triumph, but all shared something in common: a second chance. Emma and Carter ensured that each animal received care, affection, and, when possible, training to reveal its true potential. It wasn't about creating champions. It was about restoring dignity to those who had been discarded. At the heart of it all was Blaze. The colt who had once been abandoned in the desert was now a symbol of hope. His story of resilience inspired people of all ages. Children wrote letters to Emma, sharing how they felt empowered by hearing about Blaze. Adults faced their own challenges with greater courage, reminded that even the rejected could achieve greatness with love and patience. Blaze was more than just a horse. He was a living reminder that what truly matters in life is how we care for those around us, whether animal, person, or even ourselves. At every event where he appeared, Blaze was applauded not for his achievements, but for what he represented. He inspired compassion, determination, and faith in what many deemed impossible. The project, now named Hope in Every Step, expanded to other parts of the world. Rescue centers were established in different countries, all following the same values that Emma had set: respect, patience, and love. Volunteers joined, resources were donated, and people shared their own stories of overcoming adversity, showing how working with rescued horses also transformed human lives. Carter, once obsessed with perfection and profit, became a mentor for young breeders and animal advocates. He openly admitted his past mistakes, sharing how his partnership with Emma and Blaze had taught him to see the world with greater kindness. And Emma, now internationally recognized, remained the same humble and determined young woman. For her, the work was never about fame or recognition, but about making a difference, one horse at a time. Back at the small farm where it all began, Stella still trotted through the fields, now free and at peace alongside Blaze. She was a constant reminder of how one act of love could change the course of an entire life. And when Emma looked at the two of them, she knew that it had all been worth it. Stella and Blaze's story proved that even the hardest moments could give rise to something extraordinary. They taught the world that the value of a life isn't in what it immediately offers, but in what it can become with care, dedication, and a generous dose of hope. And so the legacy of Stella and Blaze continued to grow, spreading light and inspiration where there had once been darkness. One step at a time, they showed the world that even in the harshest deserts, life can bloom with unimaginable strength and beauty. And so we close this incredible journey of Stella, Blaze, and Emma, a story of resilience, love, and hope that reminds us that even the most rejected can achieve greatness. If this story touched your heart and made you reflect, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to know. What would you have done in Emma's place? And before you go, don't forget to leave a like so that more people can discover inspiring stories like this. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, take a moment to do so now and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of our emotional and transformative stories. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.